Black Girl was just a passenger until the plane failed and she took control. Year-old Alana Jefferson was just like any other college freshman on her way back home from her university in Denver. She had her earbuds in, her hoodie pulled over her head, and a copy of The Alchemist tucked inside her carry-on. She wasn't planning on speaking to anyone. In fact, she loved flying for the silence it gave her a break from college life. Assignments and the buzzing noise of her dorm mates. The plane, a small 14-seater private commuter jet, had taken off from Denver at 9 a.m. It was a crisp Sunday morning. The skies were clear, and visibility was near perfect. Alana had boarded the aircraft half asleep, smiled politely at the two middle-aged men already seated, and had nodded toward the pilot, Captain Ron Delaney, a man in his late 50s who had more than 25 years of flying experience. The only other person on board was the co-pilot, a young man named Drew, who looked barely older than Alana herself. Alana didn't pay much attention to him. She rarely paid attention to anything while flying. But little did she know, this one flight would change her life forever, and not just hers. The plane cruised smoothly at 12,000 feet for the first 45 minutes. Alana had drifted into a light nap, half dreaming of her mom's cooking and the warm hugs waiting for her back home. But everything changed when a sudden thud jolted her awake. The aircraft shuddered. Then came the loudest silence she had ever heard. The engines were dead quiet. At first she thought she was dreaming. But when she pulled out her earbuds, she noticed the strange expressions on the faces of the other passengers. Captain Ron's voice crackled through the intercom, but this time it didn't have the calm tone it had at takeoff. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing an engine failure. We are attempting to restart the systems. Please stay calm and remain seated. Panic began to bubble in Alana's chest. She wasn't an experienced flyer, but even she knew this wasn't normal. She peeked out the window clouds below them. No land in sight. The plane began to descend, slowly at first, then with an unmistakable drop that made her stomach lurch. Captain. Ron tried again to restart the engines. Nothing. Co-pilot Drew's voice rose. We're losing altitude fast. We've got no thrust and limited control over the rudders. We're gliding barely. Alana looked around. The older man across the aisle began muttering prayers under his breath. The other woman, seated in the back row, clutched her handbag to her chest like it would somehow keep her safe. Then came the worst news of all. A sudden pop echoed from the front. Drew unbuckled and opened the cockpit door, his face pale. Captain Ron's had a heart attack. He gasped. He's unconscious now. The plane wasn't just losing altitude. It had no pilot. Drew was shaking. I've only co-piloted twice on this model. I can't fly it solo, not in this condition. No one knew what to say. The two men seated behind Alana began arguing, one suggesting to call someone, the other just shaking his head, helpless. That was the moment when something strange happened. Alana, heart pounding, stood up. She had never flown a real plane, but she had taken part in a summer aviation program when she was 16. It was a week-long camp organized by a group of black women pilots who wanted to inspire girls like her. She had logged nearly 20 hours on a flight simulator, and had even been allowed to assist during a short instructional flight in a single-engine prop plane. Let me help, she said. The co-pilot blinked at her, confused. What? I've had some training. I'm not a pilot, but I know the basics. No offense, miss, but this is a twin-engine turboprop aircraft, not a toy. We're about to crash. Then let me crash it properly, she said, her voice surprisingly steady. Drew hesitated, but something in her eyes made him move aside. Alana stepped into the cockpit. Her hands were trembling, but her mind went into focus mode. The panel looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, but some of it was familiar. Throttle, altimeter, attitude indicator, artificial horizon. She took the seat, buckled in, and placed her hands on the yoke. What's our current altitude? She asked. 9,400 feet, and dropping. We lost both engines. I tried rebooting the electrical systems, but the right side console isn't responding. Okay, Alana whispered. We're in glide mode. She recalled the flight instructor from that summer, a woman named Captain Megan Fields, who always said, In a crisis, the first thing to do is fly the plane. Not panic. Fly the plane. Are we in contact with air traffic control? Drew nodded and pushed the headset toward her. She put it on. Mayday, Mayday. This is Flight 382 Delta Tango. Dual engine failure. Captain is incapacitated. Passenger at the controls. Request immediate vector and emergency landing instructions. There was a pause on the other end. Flight 382 say. Again, did you say the pilot is out and a passenger is flying the aircraft? That's correct. I have limited training. The voice came back. More focused now. Copy that, 382. You're over southern Colorado, nearing San Juan National Forest. The nearest airport is Durango La Plata. Runway 322 is open and clear. Can you attempt to glide toward it? We'll try. Ilana looked at the GPS. Durango was nearly 30 miles away. You were descending at 1,000 feet per minute. She did quick math. Maybe 8 minutes of airtime left. If she kept a clean glide and avoided stalls, she might make it. The next few minutes were a blur of calculations, sweat, steady hands. The co-pilot regained his composure and began assisting. He monitored altitude while Ilana kept the wings. Levelin tried to stretch the glide. The terrain ahead was mountainous. It couldn't go lower too soon. Wind shear hit them suddenly, jolting the plane sideways. Ilana's instincts kicked in. She leveled the wings and corrected the pitch, just like she had done 100 times in the simulator. Drew looked at her, stunned. You've done this before, haven't you? She shook her head. Only in training, never in real life. Minutes later, the airport came into view, a tiny stretch of runway in the middle of a sea of green and gray. They were too high. Ilana nosed the aircraft downward slightly, managing airspeed with precision. The plane bucked against the wind, but she held it steady. The tower cleared her for emergency landing. 382. You are clear to land. Winds at 279 knots. Fire and rescue on standby. Ilana exhaled. Her focus narrowed to the final approach. At 300 feet, she dropped the landing gear. One side responded. The other stuck. Main gear won't lock, Drew said. Then we're going in crooked. Ilana muttered. As they approached, Ilana kept the nose high and the descent slow. The runway loomed closer, and then, touchdown, the plane skidded, sparks flying from the faulty gear. The body tilted but stayed upright. The sound was deafening as the aircraft screeched down the tarmac. Finally grinding to a halt, silence, then cheers, screams, and clapping erupted from the cabin. Firefighters ran toward them. Paramedics rushed in. Captain Ron was taken out on a stretcher. Alive? Barely. The passengers were shaken but unharmed, and Ilana, she sat in the cockpit, breathless, her hands shaking like leaves. You just saved our lives, Drew whispered. The news spread like wildfire. By the time the sun set, Ilana Jefferson's name was trending worldwide. Reporters called her the girl who flew the unflyable. Airlines offered her scholarships. Flight schools reached out. NASA even sent a message of praise. But Ilana wasn't thinking about fame. She was thinking about the camp she had almost skipped when she was 16. The one where a black woman pilot had told her, "Don't ever let anyone tell you where your place is. Not in the sky, not on the ground." Oh. She wasn't just a passenger anymore. She was a pilot, and she had earned her wings.